All right. Hello and welcome back, fans of hashtag Become a Series Stories. We are wonderfully and happily welcoming you back into the community, right? This is our community where we are here to talk about you, your stories. We're here to highlight you. We're here to highlight your stories, celebrate you, and celebrate others as they come a part of our community, right? So we want to be able to give you encouragement. We want to be able to give you enlightenment, and we want to be able to give you direction and your journey to becoming. This is the place where it happens, okay? So we are so happy to have with us a graduate of California State University, Monterey Bay, and a rock star. And you're going to understand why. By the time this session is over, you're going to see why I say he's a rock star. And that's none other than Marshal Galvan. Welcome. Welcome to hashtag Become a Stories.
Hi, Dr. Kim. How are you? I'm grateful to be here. I'm just going to introduce myself really fast. My name is
Sure.
Marshall Philip Galvan Jr., born in the east side of San Jose, and pretty much was raised in San Jose, Oakland area, and I'm just grateful to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So you all know me, of course. I'm Dr. Kim Brown Barber, better known as Dr. Kim, but I want you to know more about Marshal Galvan Jr. So we know where you're from, but talk to us about yourself and your background. Where did you really come from, and how did you get to where you are here today?
Okay, yeah, cool. So, um, first of all, it's just a great thing that I got connected to your channel, and I think that you're doing a great work.
Thank
I
you.
know you personally, so I know
Yeah.
that when you suit up and show up, you bring it. So I'm grateful to be here. For me, I'm a product of the foster care system.
Mm-hmm.
So just really quick, when I was 4 years old, I was witnessing my parents fighting, beating on each other, and then the police came, and me and my sisters were hauled off in the back of the police car to the station, and it was pretty much seeing my parents crying and they were handcuffed and saying goodbye. And then the social worker took us off into the system. And that was kind of my introduction to the rest of my life. And so, my upbringing was going from place to place, um, experiencing different types of people, different types of cultural backgrounds, different
Mm-hmm.
ethnic backgrounds, different cities, different counties, different social workers. There was just a lot of change going on in
Mm-hmm.
my life, in my early life, and for the first 3 years, it was the system, then back to my parents, then the system, back to my parents,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of set the tone for the first 3 years, from 4 to 7, being in the foster care system. And I just recall that at 7 years old, me and my two siblings um, we were deemed problem children. So they split us
Mm-hmm.
up. And
Mm-hmm.
once they split us up, I went off to another foster home in another direction, and my sisters went off in a whole nother direction from me. And basically, from 7 to 11, we had brief visitations every month, and then it went to every other month. And my parents lost parental rights when I was 7. So
Mm-hmm.
all I had was my sisters. And at 11 years old, I remember those visitations stopping. So from 11
Mm-hmm.
to 18, um, and this is kind of the fast track version, but from 11 to 18, I pretty much was going from home to home. When I turned 15, I graduated to a group homes because I was no longer deemed a good foster kid. So they
Mm.
put me in the group homes. So from 15 to 18, I was bouncing around to group homes. I was bouncing around high schools. Eventually dropped out of high school in the 11th grade, and also, got connected to the gang culture here in San Jose,
Mm-hmm.
um, and started doing drugs and drinking,
Mm-hmm.
and that eventually led to me leaving the group home at about 17 and a half, almost my 18th birthday. I think it was 2 weeks away from my 18th birthday. I just said, you know what? I'm done with the system. I'm done with you people. I'm done with everything. I'm going to go and figure out my life. And that led me right into homelessness at 18. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's pretty much the fast track of my life from a
Mm-hmm.
child up until I was 18. Um,
And so then at that point, I'm seeing how, you went through many adversities, many challenges, and you faced them at an early age. And so has where you are, but now, you're in a whole different, avenue. Can you tell our community, tell our audience, where you are now, and then we'll kind of backtrack so that we can be able to show them how you overcame the different challenges and adversities, because you're a graduate, you're a college graduate of with a BS degree, and you're doing some other things. Talk about that a little bit for me, please.
yeah, no problem. So I'll start at the top. So most recently, March 2nd of 2021 at 10:23 in the morning, I was sent an email from the University of California, Berkeley, MSW program. They had accepted me into their graduate program. And
Yes. I love it.
and on top of that, I was given the Title IV stipend program, and only 15 people get that. So
See.
um, I'm pretty much fast tracking myself into CPS social worker. So, we could talk about that later, but I do strongly feel that everything kind of goes full circle. So that's where I'm at right now. I did acquire my bachelor's degree in collaborative health and human services with an emphasis in social work from California State University, Monterey Bay. And I also got my associate's degree at Gavilan College in Gilroy. So from an educational standpoint, there's been a lot of growing pains, but definitely stuck it out. And
Yes, you did.
I'm now seeing the fruits of that.
So has where you came from, all the adversity and challenges that you went through, is that played a really big part in today, like, of being this now, rock star of not only having your bachelor's degree, your associate degree, your bachelor's degree, and soon your master's. Has all of that played into where you are today?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. You know what? I think that I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have the life that I had.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
many people actually take for granted the experience of college, and they squander what you can actually attain from going to college
Mm-hmm.
and trying to chase these other things from just having a sheltered life. And for me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I kind of like was that burning star that burned out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
by the time I straggled into college, I was just trying to learn how to exist, how to be a human being, how to be a
Mm-hmm.
man. And community college really grew me in that way and developed me and developed my critical thinking skills. It really
Nice.
developed my ability to be consistent, to be accountable, responsible. These are things that I didn't have when I was coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and I just learned how to be an adult, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in my undergrad, that's when I started learning how to be a professional and how
Mm-hmm.
to write
Mm-hmm.
papers and how to present myself to the world. Um, and so how all that plays into the background that I had, um, I was always told when I was in the group homes, go to college, you get free education because you're a foster
Mm-hmm.
kid and this, and I always brushed all
Mm-hmm.
that off.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
that's when I started applying myself into college, and I knew that that was an outlet. But more specifically, the reason I am where I am today, and real plain and simple, is because I know where I was,
Mm-hmm.
and I know
Mm-hmm.
what life awaits me if I don't see this through. And I'm just giving
Mm.
myself a
Mm-hmm.
chance, and that's how that has fueled me through college, is just knowing where I came from, knowing what's there for me, because I was on a fast track to prison or death.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but also knowing the promise and getting a little bit of a taste of success and financial freedom and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, you know, being an asset to the world with my story. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's kind of how that tied together.
I love it. I love it. I love what you did and taking lemon and making lemonade and being able to take something of adversity and being able to swing it to a positive in your life. So you talked a little bit about your major at CSUMB. Can you talk to us about what that major was again? And you, I believe, were a first gen. Am I not? Am I correct?
Absolutely. First
So first
gen.
generation college student. So talk to me
Mhm.
about the pressures that come with that and how you were able to get to that major. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so you know, I want to paint this little story, tell you guys a little story because I think it paints the picture for not only being a first generation student with no support, but
Mm-hmm.
also being someone of a minority background.
Mm-hmm.
When I arrived at CSUMB, I you know, I had the campus housing, and when I got there, both of my housemates were white males from privileged backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to notice over the time of being there, there was some major discrepancies and differences. Number one, throughout my entire undergrad, I worked full time.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
throughout my entire undergrad, I never seen my housemates work at all.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, the other things were like they were always talking about the stock market and credit, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, on vacations they would go home, and
Mm-hmm.
I would be there at the house. And I started to realize that the place where I was at was my home,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because if I left there, I was homeless,
Sure.
you know, and the place where they were at was vacation, and they
Mm.
were there for the college
Okay.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that really, once that dawned on me, I really
Mm-hmm.
realized how significant it was to have a support system.
Mm-hmm.
And so, being a first generation student, um, that's one of the biggest barriers is
Mm-hmm.
where am I going to get my support from?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I had to navigate different systems. Now, luckily, I was able to meet the likes of you and
Mm-hmm.
individuals from EOP and Guardian
Mm-hmm.
Scholars.
Right.
The support programs on campus. I absolutely endorse them because that was my lifeline,
Mm-hmm.
and that's pretty much how I was able to navigate college, was getting plugged into those programs.
Mm-hmm.
And then your other question was about my degree or
About your major. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
my
Talk to
major.
me about that.
Um, my major, it was really cool because in an undergrad, it's kind of a generalist, like a generalist overview of the different kind of careers.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, as you know, in graduate school, you're focused on your
Mm-hmm.
career.
Mm-hmm.
So in undergrad, I was just being exposed to like grant writing and um, policy work and
Mm-hmm.
public health, and looking at
Mm-hmm.
health issues from a societal perspective, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and just exploring the different careers and how they all intertwine with each other. And it was just like a and I was just like, oh my
Mm,
God, there's so many
mm,
opportunities and possibilities.
mm,
Being exposed to my field work where I was doing restorative justice work,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, and just like the exposure that I got, not only in developing my own self
Mm-hmm.
and trying to infuse my passion with my purpose, but also in developing my, again, critical thinking skills, and
Mm-hmm.
developing how, where do I see myself in my life story? Where do I see that fitting in and meshing with the community at large, and really owning in on how important it is to be able to use my story as an asset
Mm-hmm.
to work in the field.
That's right.
And that's where, you know, that's where all that groundwork started happening
Okay.
within my undergrad. Yeah.
That's awesome. So see, it started building. I could see how each step for you has been building into your journey and to your becoming, and you're still building that journey, right? And so graduation day, think about graduation day. How do you feel, and how do you think your other, friends and support systems and your family, because family is different. I tell people family looks different for everybody. So, your support system, that family and your friends and you particularly, how did you feel during that moment of graduation, knowing that you got your BS degree?
Right, right. Thank you for asking. Um, I would say this. For me, it was a sigh of relief. It was,
Mm, mm,
I
yeah,
really, I
I can
really did
breathe.
that. I really did
Wow,
that.
wow,
And it wasn't in a traditional sense. I didn't have my parents taking me out to
right.
dinner, or they don't really understand, even till this day. Like, when I tell them I'm going to grad school, they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand the magnitude of that, because
All
they've
right,
never been exposed to college.
sure.
They didn't even finish high school. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, oh, that's cool. But when I got my BA degree, there were, people saying congrats, and
Mm-hmm.
you deserve it, and
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff. But for me, it was just that, like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we did that.
Mm-hmm.
We did
Mm-hmm.
that. And
Wow.
I didn't get I didn't get to walk the stage because of COVID,
Right. Yes,
so
that's right. Your class was oh my goodness, that's
I'm the
right.
COVID
It's coming
class.
to me. Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And our hearts, they were just bleeding for what we call the COVID class, right? But I don't want to
Mm,
call it the COVID class because we want to call you guys the graduates, right? And that was from the class of 2020. And so you were a part of that class of 2020, and our hearts just bleed for all of the class of 2020 because we didn't want you to feel like you were robbed. And so I know a lot of people are allowing a lot of the 2020 class to come back and walk for 2021 in some cases. Some of them aren't, just depending on what the policies are allowing them to do in their states. So yeah, talk to me about that. You didn't get to walk, so you came out doing a really tumultuous time. So what
mm-hmm,
did that look like and feel like as you came out? You're a minority, you are former Foster's recipient, and now you're a part of this 2020 graduation class that can't walk and
sure.
doesn't know what you're walking into, even for career. How did that look? What were some of the challenges that you dealt with in going to your career path through that?
Sure. Yeah, I actually want to shout out my younger self for going through all of that and enduring all of
Mm-hmm.
that,
Yes,
because without
definitely.
that, I wouldn't have been able to have myself. During this pandemic, I've been employed this whole time.
Oh
Um,
my goodness. See, that's all right.
you
That's
know,
that's what I'm talking about. Oh, that is awesome.
I've been able to, and the work that I do is really working with young adults that are homeless and getting them
Mm-hmm.
housed and employed and educated and learning life skills. So I've been able to continue that throughout this entire past year. Um, and just again, shouting out my younger self for enduring, because,
Mm-hmm.
graduating during a pandemic is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely symbolic of my life.
Mm,
Nothing has ever
mm-mm,
been given to me.
mm, mm.
And everything that I've ever achieved or had success at, I've had to overcome some things. And
Mm-hmm.
so, for me, I mean, for other people, it might have been a struggle, but for me, it was like just another day of life. It was like, all
Oh
right.
wow. Yes.
It was like, all right, okay. So I didn't get to walk the stage, but you're not
Mm-hmm.
taking away this degree I got,
Yeah.
and
Yes, I love it.
it was like, okay, people are filing unemployment, but God is good, and I got a job, and by the way, I get to
Mm,
help people in this job,
mm.
and
You are a
so,
rock star. See what I'm talking about, community? See what I'm talking
man,
about, audience? A rock star. Yes.
yeah, so it's being a minority, being a first gen, being a foster youth
Mhm.
background,
Mhm.
homeless, kinship, adopted,
Mhm.
just being someone that comes from poverty, the hood, wherever it is that you had to walk through and overcome, like getting to this point where you are starting to see real success and achievement, whatever that is for you, because it's not
Mhm.
always college for everybody.
Mhm. Mhm. That's right.
Just know that your experiences are your strength, and your strength becomes someone else's hope,
Mm.
and I really, like I said, shout out my past and shout out me for giving myself a chance at a, they say a second chance at a first class life. That's what they
Well,
say.
okay then.
So
I'm loving it. I
yeah.
think that's awesome.
Mhm.
I commend you, just like you said, because you could have given up. I mean,
Mhm.
at many steps in your life where you
Mhm.
had those challenges and adversities early, you
Mhm.
could have given up. You could have said, okay, enough. you
Mhm.
know Even when you thought you were like, okay, let me go and find my life, and you had some obstacles to come in the way, you could have said, okay, well, I'm just going to stay in this, because there's nothing else but this. No, you knew it was something else that you
Mhm.
needed to journey to, and you
Mhm.
kept stepping, and you kept stepping even when you didn't understand some of your steps. You just kept stepping, and I love that.
Absolutely.
And I commend you for not giving up. And that's why you're where you are today, getting ready to go into your master's program.
Mm.
So what would you tell other minority college students who are out there to reaching their goals and their dreams? What would you tell those students?
I would tell you to uh, rely on your intuition. You know,
Mm-hmm.
trust the process, enjoy the journey,
Mm-hmm.
and just know what's out there. We already know that racism is still there. We already know
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
systemic oppression is a thing. We already know
Mm-hmm.
that they want to see people that are black and brown behind the walls.
Mm-hmm.
They would rather see you with a needle in your arm on the side of the road than holding a degree, getting ready to go and help your community. We
Mm-hmm.
already know these things. So um, it's more or less of stopping from having that victim mentality
Mm-hmm.
to having that victorious
Mm.
mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
Say
when
it
you look
again.
around,
Say
when you
that
look,
again.
stop that victim mentality and have that victorious mentality.
Mm. Mm.
Because you already got all the skills to be successful because the world that you grew up in gave you those skills.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's about letting those skills shine through you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And people, and what I always like to tell people, because everyone always gives up because they don't see the results.
That's
And what
true.
I like to tell people is the results is actually in the journey. It's in the
That's it.
journey,
That's it.
right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
about the destination. The destination is going to happen
Exactly.
regardless,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the journey to
Mm-hmm.
becoming
That's it.
that is where all the change happens. That's uh
Mm.
where the real life happens. That's where you actually get to appreciate life
Mm.
and actually get to embrace it, and and just like just know that it makes that success, that destination, it makes it so much more sweeter,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I just want to, if I can, I just want to share this story because I think it really
Please.
highlights the importance and the totality of life. Um, I went to school in my undergrad. Obviously, we go to school with a lot of people. We see a lot of people, but there was
Mm-hmm.
a individual there who was an Army veteran.
Mm-hmm.
He always was participating in class. He had great things to say in class. He was doing great work in the community with the veteran population. Um, and I just was scrolling LinkedIn this morning, and I had seen that he had passed away on the 22nd of
Mm.
March, which was like a week ago,
Mm.
um, in a fatal car accident.
Oh,
Left
wow.
behind his wife and two kids, and and what that did for me was that really put things in perspective,
Mm-hmm.
because we sit here and we take things for granted day and night,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm guilty
Mm-hmm.
of that myself. even
Mm-hmm.
being where I was from, homeless, addicted, incarcerated, all of this stuff, I could
Mm-hmm.
still find myself taking things for granted. But you know what? And this goes back to the journey, because when we realize that life is not promised,
Mm-hmm.
then that's when we can start being present for the journey. And when we're present for the
Mm.
journey,
Mm.
we're able to
That's
enjoy
good.
it and embrace it. And, while we're along the way, God gonna send us people, places, and things that's gonna be blessings for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna be blessings to other people.
That's
And
right.
that's why I'm alive today. I truly believe that, because um, once I stop being selfish and stop being inside of my own mind and stop being my
Mm-hmm.
own problem,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I started to see how the world just opened up, and how
Amazing.
and how I am where I am today, and it really just is beautiful. So I'll leave y'all with this. Um, if you find your passion, you find your purpose,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
and that's where I'll leave y'all.
That's awesome. So I have no words to say when it comes to how I feel about, what you have done. I'm so proud of you and so happy for you as you continue to step in your journey, right? To becoming who you are, right?
Mm,
It's all in you already,
mm.
right? And so what are some of your next steps? I know you're going to be going to UC Berkeley for your master's. What are some of your next steps after this?
Yeah, so I will be transitioning to starting my master's program in the
Hmm.
fall. Most likely going to be replanting my roots out in the East Bay area,
Okay.
and I'm really excited about that.
Yes.
Um, and I just look forward to continue doing the work. I'm probably going to get plugged into working in it's called over there the Berkeley Hope Scholars, which is,
Yes. I'm
my
familiar with that.
population,
Yes.
right? So I'm going to try to go and plant my roots as a peer advisor there, and just be open to the opportunities,
There
and
you
and
go.
try not to limit myself with my own thinking, um, and and grow and learn.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, once I finish my degree in 2 years, I will be entering into the county as a CPS social worker. And
Nice.
so that's my immediate future. Everything else after that
Yes.
is unknown.
Exactly. Exactly. I love it. I am just applauding you today, Marshall, because you deserve it. You are awesome, and I've always had a lot of high regards for you because you never gave up. No matter what it looked like, no matter what you were going through, you never gave up, and you always turned it around to be a positive. And so I know great things are coming for you. I know Berkeley is going to be they're going to be blessed to even have you, right? And then even
Mm,
more so when you come out, the lives that you're going to touch, the lives you already have touched, and the lives you're
mm,
touching here, even on this platform, and the lives you'll be touching even as you come out, going into the county and serving all of those around you. So I wish you well, and I want to be able to find out who would you tag as the next hashtag becomer college student story. Anybody you think of?
yeah, there's a couple of people that I wouldn't mind seeing on here.
Can you give
Um,
us one?
yeah, Teresa Dexter.
I'm
Teresa
very
Dexter.
familiar. Okay.
Yeah,
I
she,
talk to her on through LinkedIn often, so I will let her know you tagged her.
yeah, absolutely. Also, Jasmine Jackson will be amazing as well.
Excellent.
She's doing great work in her community down in LA as we speak. So,
Great.
but if
Okay.
you will, Dr. Kim, I'd like to really just highlight you, because there was a specific time in my undergrad where while I was working under your program, I was going through some things with my younger sister at that time. By the way, she's sober now, expecting another baby,
Oh,
and she's on,
wonderful.
and she's about to get her AA degree soon.
Oh my goodness, you started a
Uh,
trend.
yeah,
Yes.
amen. But I really want to highlight you, because during that time, there was a lot of things going on where I really felt like I was gonna put my schooling on pause and leave, and to go and take care of my sister. And without going into detail, what you did was something that a, a person of leadership would do. You know, you were super flexible. You advocated for me, and you basically allowed me to just exist.
Thank you.
And you guided and directed me through that process. You know, and it's little moments like that that keep someone on their journey, right? And so I want to thank you and appreciate you and applaud you, because my success,
Thank you.
actually, you got a stake in it, you know.
Oh,
So and that's real, you
I
know.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. You're not going to do it. He's trying to make me cry. I'm not going to do that. Look, but you're real, but realness. I really applaud that and appreciate that. The tags that he's talking about, we'll be talking to them. He's right. All of them have been my heart, and I've seen them go through a lot of things in and out. And I'm just happy to see when I see someone LinkedIn and they're doing it. I'm like, yes. But Marshall was always one of the ones who really, he was a leader. He's always been a leader. I've seen that even in undergrad. So I am looking for great things from you. So thank you again for being on hashtag Become a Series Stories. We applaud you and we look to hear more great things from you. Remember, everybody, you can follow us on journeytobecoming.com. That's journey, the number 2, becoming.com. Go to that website. You'll see the YouTube channel. This is where you'll find Marshall at the YouTube channel. We have Instagram and Twitter, but we're always uplifting our college students and giving direction. So we want to follow them so they can be able to reach back and pull somebody else with them. So thank you for being here today. Remember, you can do this. Stay safe and well. Take care.